Across the United States, there are neighborhoods whose reputations stretch far beyond their streets. Known for crime, poverty, and hardship, these places have become symbols of struggle, yet also of resilience and survival. In this series, we dive deeper into these notorious neighborhoods, uncovering their history, the forces that shaped them, and the reality of life for those who call them home. This is where history, hardship, and life collide. Welcome to America's most notorious neighborhoods. St. Clair Superior. St. Clair Superior boundaries are East 55th Street from Lake Erie south to Superior Avenue east to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Martin Luther King Jr. Drive north to Lake Erie. There are around 5,580 residents in St. Clair Superior, which sits along Lake Erie near downtown Cleveland. The neighborhood has a high violent crime rate with an abundance of gang activity. There are many crimes in St. Clair Superior, including homicides, drug trafficking, prostitution, robberies, and property crimes. St. Clair Superior crime rates are 229% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in St. Clair Superior are 463% higher than the national average. In St. Clair Superior, you have a 1 in 14 chance of becoming a victim of crime. The neighborhood experienced a drastic change in population after World War II as returning soldiers and their families fled to the suburbs. It wasn't until the 1990s that most residents of the St. Clair Superior neighborhood were Eastern Europeans. In 2014, however, 79% of neighborhood residents were African American. There were vacancies, demolitions, rising poverty rates, and falling educational levels during the transition. Notable gangs and hoods. Zone 6 includes a number of blocks around 65th and Superior, such as Bayless, Bonner, and Dibble. Zone 7 in between 71st and 79th, based around streets like 76th, also known as 7 All. Zone 8 Ansel Road. Sunnyside. Sunnyside is located on Houston's south side and is generally bounded by Loop 610 south to the north, Highway 288 to the west, Sims Bayou to the south, and an irregular eastern boundary that meanders through mixed land uses west of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Sunnyside has a population of approximately 22,562 residents. Sunnyside consistently records some of the highest crime rates in Houston, with residents facing a significantly elevated risk of victimization compared with national averages. Based on recent estimates, the overall crime incidence in Sunnyside is about 92 incidents per 1,000 residents, meaning roughly 1 in every 11 people experiences crime each year. Violent crime figures are especially high, with an assault rate of about 2,297 per 100,000 residents, a robbery rate near 1,269 per 100,000, and a murder rate around 54 per 100,000.
Two women hit in the middle of the road, and right now the search is on for the driver. Your news at noon starts right now. Houston police are looking for a hit-and-run driver after two women were killed fighting in the street. You're taking a look at the video of the argument. We paused the video before the women were hit. It happened in Houston's Sunnyside community earlier this morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Trevino. Igochi Iloka has more on this tragedy and spoke exclusively to one woman who says she's a friend of one of the victims.
Latonia Rome told me about the fight that spilled onto this street off of Cullen Boulevard and how one of the women involved was her best friend.
And the car just ran her over and dang, she dead. And I was like, oh, shoot. It can't be, because I just bought her a soda water from the store.
We have surveillance video of that fight. A warning, you may find it difficult to watch. In this clip, you can see one woman approaching another woman in the street and begin swinging. Then the two women start fighting and wrestling in the southbound lanes of Cullen Boulevard, just a few blocks off Reed Road, around 3:35 a.m. this morning. Shortly after that, you see headlights shining on both women in the middle of the road. This is where we freeze the video because what happens next is devastating. Houston police say a driver in a red sedan strikes the two women and runs over them.
How can you just not see someone in the street and just completely just hit them, just keep on going?
Both women sadly died on site. Here's a different camera angle of the red sedan driving off after the double hit and run deadly incident.
A 2013 Neighborhood Scout crime study using data from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, ranked Sunnyside 6th among the 25 most dangerous neighborhoods in the United States. These patterns reflect long-standing public safety challenges in Sunnyside, where violence, theft, and gang-related activity have contributed to a community reputation for insecurity and high victimization risk, even as local leaders and police implement targeted interventions to improve conditions. Sunnyside notable gangs and hoods.
I never will forget my first time thinking should I come candy with red, of course, because it turns heads or instead the nigga ain't scared to stroll and hold up the strip. You know I wear blue cause I'm bottles over grip on the cut. What else should I think? Should I hit that?
North Division. The North Division neighborhood is the northern section of a larger neighborhood known as Lindsay Heights. The neighborhood is bordered by Burleigh Street to the north, North Avenue to the south, Interstate 43 to the east, and North 20th Street to the west, and has a population of around 5,104 residents. North Division faces alarmingly high crime, with overall rates about 385% above the national average. Violent crime is extreme, occurring at roughly 1,363% higher than the national norm, meaning residents face a staggering 1 in 10 chance of becoming a victim of crime.
Amazing and terrifying surveillance video showing the moments gunfire erupted outside of a gas station right near 14th and Locust early this morning. 2 people ended up getting shot. Fox 6's Bill Miston joins us live now with more on how others scrambled for cover. Bill?
Hey there, Steph. Police are looking for suspects at this hour, and for the gas station's owner, he tells Fox 6 that he's not surprised about this type of violence in the city, but that it happened where it did. For nearly 20 years, Jasjeet Singh says problems have been few and far between at his shop at the intersection of Locust and Teutonia. But at around 4:15 Wednesday morning, gun violence that he says has plagued other parts of the city reared its head at his front door.
This is happening all over.
His surveillance cameras capturing the harrowing moments that was over as quickly as it started. First, you see a man in a white shirt walk up to this car and start talking to someone in the back seat. At the top of your screen, muzzle flashes, at least 14, from at least 2 people. The man in the white shirt hits the ground for cover, when 1 second later you can see a bullet blows out the window, coming inches from the man's head. A woman and man tumble out of the car and run inside, the man losing a shoe in the process, while the man in the white shirt takes off running. One of Singh's employees also inside.
He heard the shot, a lot of people running inside. First he called 911, he lay down to order too. He got scared, you know.
The two people who ran in the store later run out, get back in the car, and drive off. Police say a 17-year-old girl and 18-year-old man were shot.
They find so many bolts from the lot. They damaged my property too.
Now Singh is left to fix the damage.
This is the police find out what's the problem, you know. The people go to the hospital, they find out what's going on.
And hopes it doesn't happen again.
By the mid-20th century, the majority of black people in Milwaukee were concentrated within roughly 1 square mile of the central city, an area that included parts of what is now Lindsay Heights and was known as Brownsville. While its exact boundaries are debated, Brownsville is most commonly described as stretching between Juneau and North Avenues and from 3rd Street, as it was then called, to 17th Street. North Division began to decline as manufacturing jobs disappeared and employers along the 30th Street industrial corridor downsized or closed. By the 1980s and 1990s, rising poverty, vacant properties, and strained public services contributed to persistent violent crime, cementing North Division's struggles and its reputation as one of Milwaukee's most challenged neighborhoods. Downtown. Downtown is the central business district of Memphis and is located along the Mississippi River between Interstate 40 to the north, Interstate 55 to the south, and Interstate 240 to the east, where it borders Midtown Memphis. Downtown crime rates are 470% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in downtown are 915% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 8 chance of becoming a victim of crime. Downtown Memphis is the oldest part of the city and includes the riverfront and the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River. It is a popular regional destination for entertainment, dining, and tourism and includes attractions such as Beale Street, FedEx Forum, home of the Memphis Grizzlies, AutoZone Park, and the Peabody Hotel, which opened in 1925. There are several historic residences downtown, particularly in the Victorian Village neighborhood. Historic homes such as the Hunt Phelan House at 533 Beale Street, rumored to have been part of the Underground Railroad by which escaped slaves made their way to freedom prior to the Civil War. Named after Edward Fitzgerald Beale, a military hero from the Mexican-American War, Beale Street is a significant location in the city's history, as well as in the history of blues music. The street runs from the Mississippi River to East Street, a distance of approximately 1.8 miles. Today, the blues clubs and restaurants that line Beale Street are major tourist attractions in Memphis. In the 1860s, many black traveling musicians began performing on Beale. In 1889, NAACP co-founder Ida B. Wells was a co-owner and editor of an anti-segregationist paper called Free Speech based on Beale before her presses were destroyed by a white mob, and she had to relocate from Memphis to Chicago to escape death threats. In the early 1900s, Beale Street was filled with many clubs, restaurants, and shops, many of them owned by African Americans. On April 4, 1968, the Lorraine Motel in downtown Memphis became a site of unimaginable tragedy as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated while standing on its balcony. His life was cut short in a shocking moment that reverberated across the nation. Today, the motel stands as the National Civil Rights Museum, a solemn and powerful tribute to his enduring legacy and the unyielding struggle for justice and equality. Over the years, crime in downtown Memphis has fluctuated, with periods of decline and increases depending on various social, economic, and law enforcement factors. In the mid-20th century, downtown Memphis, like many urban areas, experienced a rise in crime as the city faced economic challenges and urban decay. In the 1970s and 1980s, crime rates in downtown areas were high, driven by poverty, lack of investment, and disinvestment in certain neighborhoods. Starting in the late 1980s and 1990s, the city made concerted efforts to revitalize downtown Memphis, leading to improvements in safety and a reduction in crime. Renovations of key areas, such as Beale Street and the Mississippi riverfront, contributed to a decline in crime in these revitalized zones. However, despite these efforts, crime, particularly property crime and violent crime, has remained a concern in certain parts of downtown. Downtown notable gangs and hoods. Dixie Homes. Built in 1938, Dixie Homes was constructed exclusively for blacks and among the first public housing projects in Memphis. Dixie Homes became a very reputable area over the years, being mentioned in rap lyrics and media. Dixie Homes posse, who worked with many underground rap acts, including the likes of Kingpin, Skinny Pimp, and others. The complex would be demolished in 2006 and rebuilt into Legends Park. Claiborne Homes, aka Third Ward. Claiborne Homes housing projects built in 1955 on 27 acres. The city of Memphis began relocating Claiborne Homes residents in 2010, and just 1 year later the complex was demolished. Foot Homes. Foot Homes housing project was built in 1940 and sits on 46 acres near downtown Memphis. Foot Homes is a legendary landmark named after black federal officer and lawmaker William H. Foote, and was the last remaining housing project in Memphis to be demolished. Brightmoor. Brightmoor, known locally as Brightmoor, is a neighborhood located near the northwest border of the city. Brightmoor is bordered by Puritan Avenue to the north, the CSX Railway to the south, Evergreen Road to the east, and West Outer Drive, DeCosta Street, and Telegraph Road to the west. Brightmoor crime rates are 406% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in Brightmoor are 986% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 9 chance of becoming a victim of crime. In 1921, developer Bert Eddie Taylor purchased 160 acres in Redford Township, just 1 mile from Detroit's city limits. He envisioned Brightmoor as an affordable housing community for Southern migrants seeking work in Detroit's booming auto industry. The subdivision opened in 1922, and Taylor actively recruited Appalachian workers with the promise of factory jobs. Between 1923 and 1924, Brightmoor expanded by 2,913 acres, with most residents finding employment in automobile manufacturing.
Very active scene behind me, but investigators have actually pushed us quite a bit away from the area, so that gives you an idea as to how graphic it may be over there. Obviously, they are also trying to preserve this crime scene that they are dealing with. Just to give you an idea as to where we are now, we're in Westbrook and West Outer Drive. Police have this area blocked off. It is in the Brightmoor community. We're told that they were called out here right around 4:15 this morning after neighbors heard several shots and got concerned. Now, when they got out here, they found the victim in the roadway. He was bound, he was shot, and he was set on fire. Now, they believe he's a man, but his upper body was severely burned, so at first it was very difficult to tell. Now, we were told that his legs were tied up with an orange electrical cord, that there were also several shell casings found near his body. Someone in the area did see a car speed away from the scene, and we're being told that it was a light-colored minivan that headed south on Outer Drive. We're also being told that there was a black man wearing a gray hoodie that was in that vehicle, but beyond that, we don't have much of a description of the possible suspect involved in this. Of course, we're going to remain out here and try and get more details about this gruesome discovery, this grisly murder on the city's west side, in which a man was found tied up, shot, and set on fire. So, of course, stay with us for the very latest.
In 2009, John Carlisle, Detroit blogger John of the Metro Times, said ghetto stereotypes thrive here: broad daylight drug dealing, preteen pregnancies, long gone or never known fathers, and houses falling apart or giving way to vacant lots. In a 40-year period until 2011, the number of residents in Brightmoor decreased dramatically. Crime appearing in the 1990s and 2000s caused additional residents to leave. In 1990, the neighborhood had 23,775 residents, with 12% being senior citizens. By 2000, the population had dropped 16.5% to 19,837, with 37.2% under 18 and 5.3% over 64. The decline accelerated by 2010, with the population falling 35.3% to 12,836, where 29.9% were under 18 and 12.7% were seniors. Notable gangs and hoods. BMG. Brightmoor Gangster Disciples, being one of the most reputable sets in all of Detroit, an extremely active set that have maintained control of the area for many years. BMG is also notable for having one of the largest territories in Detroit. BGC. Brightmoor Gangster Crips, an active neighborhood gangster Crip set on Finkel Avenue in Brightmoor. The set has been around the area as early as the mid-2000s, with many members converting from nearby Ally BMG around the early 2010s. Rivals include Roland 60s Crips, Schoolcraft Boys, Latin Kings, Puritan Avenue, Vice Lords, and Roland 20s Bloods. Finkel Avenue. Home to rapper Payroll Giovanni. Finkel Avenue is a long avenue that stretches from Brightmoor all the way to the Dexter Finkel neighborhood. The avenue crosses through multiple hoods and territories. Hoods include the Finkel Avenues, aka Finkel Avenue Boys, 4-1, and Bilug. Brownsville. Brownsville is a residential neighborhood in eastern Brooklyn. It's bordered by Crown Heights to the northwest, Bed-Stuy and the subneighborhood of Ocean Hill to the north, East New York to the east, Canarsie to the south, and East Flatbush to the west. With an estimated population of around 96,217 residents. Patrolled by the 73rd Precinct of the NYPD, Brownsville has often been referred to as the murder capital of New York, a title backed by years of data and grim headlines. According to DNA Info's Crime and Safety Report, Brownsville has historically recorded the highest number of murders in all of New York City, earning a reputation as one of Brooklyn's most dangerous neighborhoods. This reputation is rooted in its long history of homicides, drug-related deaths, and violent crime. Brownsville's murder rate has been nearly 4 times higher than the citywide average. Statistically, the chances of becoming a crime victim here are about 1 in 36. The violent crime rate stands at 1,264 per 100,000 people, while the overall crime rate reaches 2,810 per 100,000. The New York Department of Health and Mental Hygiene has also noted that assault-related hospitalizations in Brownsville are far above the national average.
Breaking news out of Brooklyn, where a police-involved shooting happened early this morning. Officers shot and killed a suspect who they say tried to push his way into a police precinct when he was caught. That's when things escalated. Police held a press conference just moments ago. Let's get straight out to Eyewitness News reporter Jaysha Patel with the latest from Brownsville. Jaysha, what do you know?
Good morning. Well, we just learned some new details just a couple of minutes ago. We're standing outside of the 73rd precinct. You might be able to see the front door there right behind me. Well, we learned that a man tried to enter the precinct through the front door. He realized it was locked and he walked to the back of the precinct where it clearly says that unauthorized personnel are not allowed back there. He tried to enter the precinct through the back door, and an NYPD officer, a female officer, tried to stop him. But that's when he took a butcher knife out and slashed her in the face. Another officer tried to tase that man, but it didn't work and he ran away. Multiple officers chased after him for a couple of blocks and told him to drop his weapon, but he refused and lunged at an officer, which is when that man was shot multiple times and he has died. This is video of the scene from earlier this morning. You can see just how big that police presence was on scene after that shooting happened just after 5:30 this morning. A butcher knife was recovered from the scene. It was laying in the middle of the road, along with many shell casings from that shooting. And the area around the scene had been blocked off at Saratoga Avenue and Park Place, which is about a block away from where we are right now at the precinct. Police say that they do have the attack on surveillance video, but it's unclear if they're going to release the footage at this time. They also have a picture of that weapon they are going to be releasing soon on social media. We all do know that 2 other officers are being treated for ringing in their ears from when that shooting happened. But back out here live, the good news is we do know that female NYPD officer who was slashed in the face, she is expected to be okay.
From the 1880s through the 1950s, Brownsville was largely a Jewish neighborhood. By 1900, its population had grown to about 25,000, with most residents living in small 2-story wooden houses originally designed for 2 families. Overcrowding was common, and in some cases as many as 8 families were crammed into the single 2-family homes. In the 1930s, Brownsville gained notoriety as the birthplace of Murder, Inc., a criminal syndicate responsible for an estimated 400 to 1,000 contract killings through the 1940s. Their operations spread into neighboring Ocean Hill and East New York. The members mainly consisted of Jewish and Italian Americans. A film about the criminal syndicate was produced and released in 1960. The organization's name, Murder, Inc., was also the inspiration for the hip-hop and R&B label, Murder, Inc. Records. Founded by brothers and record executives Chris and Irv Gotti in 1999. During the 1950s, Brownsville experienced a significant demographic shift as large numbers of black residents moved into the neighborhood. From the late 20th century onward, Brownsville has consistently ranked among the New York City neighborhoods with the highest levels of poverty and crime. Brownsville is heavily defined by its concentration of public housing, much of it clustered within a compact area bordered by Powell Street, Rockaway Avenue, and Livonia and Sutter Avenues. This section consists of multiple inward-facing complexes built across 6 superblocks and represents the highest concentration of public housing in the entire United States. The New York City Housing Authority manages more units in Brownsville than in any other neighborhood, with roughly 1/3 of the local housing stock, about 10,000 units, spread across 18 developments and more than 100 buildings within just 1 square mile. Notable residents of Brownsville include TV and radio host presenter Larry King, rapper, producer, actor, and filmmaker RZA. Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion ever. And Umberto Albert Anastasia, an Italian-American mobster, hitman, and crime boss who was one of the founding figures of the modern American mafia, and later rose to power as a co-founder and eventual leader of Murder, Inc. With an incarceration rate of 1,698 per 100,000 residents, Brownsville's incarceration rate is 3 times more than the city's as a whole, and higher than every other neighborhood's incarceration rate in NYC. Brownsville has significantly high dropout rates in its schools. The neighborhood also has one of the highest concentrations of persistently violent schools of any area in New York State, with 5 such schools in Brownsville and East New York on the 2015 to 2016 list of most dangerous schools. Students must pass through metal detectors and swipe ID cards to enter the buildings. Brownsville has the second highest rate of student homelessness in Brooklyn. It also has the highest rate of elementary school student absenteeism in New York City, with 39% of elementary school students missing 20 or more days per school year. Brownsville notable gangs and hoods. Marcus Garvey Projects. Marcus Garvey Houses of Brownsville. Affiliations include Cho, Top Gun Crips, and Hood Stars. Van Dyke. Van Dyke Houses of Brownsville. Affiliations include Young and Wild and Hustling, Brothers Over Everything, and Brims. Brownsville Houses. Affiliations include 1800 Bully Gang, a subset of Guerrilla Stone Bloods, also a part of the Wu Alliance, or We On Our Own. OMB, Only My Brothers, and FOA, Family Overall. Kensington/Harrogate. Kensington is a predominantly white neighborhood in the River Ward section of North Philadelphia. Within Kensington are various sub-neighborhoods including Harrogate, Lower Kensington, West Kensington, and Central Kensington, aka the heart of Kensington. Harrogate is the furthest north, bordering Juniata and named for Harrogate Park. Kensington has a violent crime rate of about 328 incidents per 10,000 residents, roughly 30% higher than Philadelphia's overall rate. Harrogate crime rates are 326% higher than the national average. With violent crimes in Harrogate being 456% higher than the national average, you have a 1 in 11 chance of becoming a victim of crime.
And also developing, we've had another shooting. So this time, a man is hears all this really loud music that's being blasted out of a car, goes outside on the 2500 block of North Palethorpe Street around 1:30 in the morning, and then sees 2 guys that are blasting the music from the car. There is a confrontation, then it escalates into a argument, and then all of a sudden one of the people in the car pulls out a gun and shoots the person who lives there to complain about the loud music. He's 38 years old. He ends up getting struck in the stomach. He's raced by some family members who hear all the arguments and then the gunfire, race him to the hospital. Right now, that victim is in stable condition, and this is under investigation.
Kensington was established in the early 18th century by English merchant Anthony Palmer. By the late 19th century, it had evolved into a bustling industrial hub, particularly renowned for its textile and carpet manufacturing. The neighborhood attracted a diverse working-class population, including Irish, English, German, and later Black and Puerto Rican communities. However, post-World War II deindustrialization led to significant job losses, economic decline, and urban disinvestment, profoundly affecting the community. Kensington is one of Philadelphia's most diverse neighborhoods. According to the U.S. Census, approximately 50% of residents identify as white, 25% as black, and over half as Hispanic or Latino. Despite its diversity, the area faces substantial socioeconomic challenges, including high poverty rates and limited access to quality education and healthcare services. The drug trade in Kensington began in the 1970s, fueled by its vacant factory buildings, distance from Center City, and easy access via the Market Frankford line and I-95. Today, the epicenter of the drug trade is near the intersection of Kensington and Allegheny Avenues, which by 2020 housed a billion-dollar drug market with rampant open drug use and dealing on sidewalks and in public parks, particularly McPherson Square, which is widely known by the nickname Needle Park. Kensington has gained national attention for its open-air drug markets, particularly along Kensington Avenue. The area has been dubbed the Walmart of heroin due to the prevalence of drug activity. The introduction of xylazine, a veterinary tranquilizer known as Tranq, has exacerbated the opioid crisis, leading to severe health complications among users. Efforts to dismantle drug encampments have been met with limited success, as displaced individuals often relocate nearby, perpetuating the cycle. Notable residents of Kensington include rapper Skrilla.
Everybody know who I'm is in this bitch. Everybody know who I'm is in this bitch, bro. I'm Big Skrilla, bro. I'm the heaviest nigga in this hood, bro. I swear to God. It mean a lot, nigga. Underworld mean we in the underworld for real. Look at this shit, bro. We in the fucking underworld, bro. For real, bro. We in the underworld, bro. And this.
Eastlake/Gate City. The East Lake neighborhood is a neighborhood in the East Lake community of Birmingham. It occupies a large area southeast of 1st Avenue North from Wahoma, southwest of Oporto Madrid Boulevard from Southeast Lake, west of London Avenue from Brown Springs, and north of South Woodlawn and Gate City. The Gate City neighborhood occupies the area north of I-20 and south of the East Lake neighborhood, centered on Georgia Road and including the Marks Village housing project. It is bordered by South Woodlawn to the west, Oak Ridge Park and Eastwood to the south, and Brown Springs to the east. East Lake and Gate City continue to struggle with violent crime, including homicides, robberies, and assaults, while also remaining a hotspot for drug trafficking and addiction-related crimes. Property crimes, such as car thefts, burglaries, and vandalism, are common, largely due to abandoned buildings and lack of security. In mid-2024, East Lake witnessed several violent events, including the tragic shooting of a 10-year-old boy who was walking in East Lake Park and a fatal shooting of a 30-year-old man near a dice game in a local parking lot. Later that same month, a shootout on 1st Avenue North in front of East Lake Park left a 19-year-old dead and 2 other people seriously injured. ShotSpotter registered more than 50 rounds fired.
Breaking news is happening right now.
In that breaking news this midday out of Birmingham, a person shot and killed in the East Lake community over on 1st Avenue South. That's where we find WVTM 13's Emma Owen live this midday. Emma, what are you learning right now from investigators?
Well, Sarah, just moments ago, we heard from Sergeant Laquita Wade with the Birmingham Police Department. She shared more information about what happened here this morning at the Anchor Motel. Now, this is on 1st Avenue North, and Wade says police were called just after 9:30 for a person shot. When they arrived here, they found the shooting victim. The man was taken to UAB Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Now, police believe the victim was in some type of physical altercation, a fight with an unknown suspect before he was shot, and we do know a witness attempted life-saving measures before the victim was taken to the hospital. Right now, police are asking anybody with information to come forward. You can see them there investigating at the motel as they work to find more information. Now, as soon as we learn more about the shooting, we'll let you know here on air and inside the free WVTM 13 app.
East Lake is a former municipality developed as a streetcar suburb in 1887 by the East Lake Land Company in the vicinity of East Lake Park and the old community of Rahama. It was incorporated with its own mayor and board of aldermen in 1900. The city of East Lake was annexed into Birmingham on January 1, 1910 as part of the Greater Birmingham Annexation Campaign. Efforts to address crime issues in East Lake have included community policing initiatives, which have increased police presence and helped reduce some crime. Additionally, gentrification and redevelopment efforts have led to some business revitalization and home renovations, but overall progress remains slow. In 2024, the East Lake neighborhood was used as a pilot implementation of Project Safe Streets, in which the city blocked off several streets in and out of residential sections as a means of reducing criminal activity. However, East Lake still remains one of Birmingham's more dangerous areas. Nearby Gate City is comprised mostly by Charles P. Marks Village, a public housing project operated by the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District, HABD, located on the 45-acre former site of the Alabama Rolling Mills. The 500-unit project, addressed at 7527 66th Street South, was named in memory of real estate executive and former HABD board chair Charles Pollard Marks. The project was constructed in 1951 to 1952, being built originally for white families only. The project was comprised of 51 bedroom units, 200 two-bedroom units, 200 three-bedroom units, 44 bedroom units, and 10 five-bedroom apartment units, with initial rents ranging from $9.50 to $34.50 per month, with utilities included. Over the years, in addition to violent crime, there have been other tragedies such as a gas explosion on December 17, 2013 that destroyed one of the buildings in the complex. The unexpected explosion claimed the life of one individual and also left 11 others critically injured. It was reported that the blast was likely caused by the release of natural gas through a cracked, corroded pipe. Alagasco would go on to replace many service pipes in the vicinity following the blast. In March 2017, Birmingham Housing Authority Director announced plans to close off all but a few of the street entrances into the complex as part of a multi-part plan to reduce violent crime. East Side notable gangs and hoods. Avondale, home to rapper Lil Bam. While the full neighborhood of Avondale is much larger, it is another community on the east side that is currently being gentrified. The most reputable section of the neighborhood is the Avondale Projects. Inglenook, H2K, home to rapper Lil Mexico. Known locally as In Town, Inglenook is a large neighborhood on the east side. Home to H2K, a gang that has been around since the early 2010s. Berry Farm. Berry Farm is a neighborhood in southeast D.C., located east of the Anacostia River. It is bounded by the Southeast Freeway to the northwest, Suitland Parkway to the northeast and east, and St. Elizabeth's Hospital to the south. Despite its historic significance and tight-knit community spirit, Berry Farm remains marked by deep-rooted safety and systemic issues. The neighborhood continues to grapple with violence, deteriorating public infrastructure, and the lingering effects of concentrated poverty.
Following a developing story in the district, police are trying to figure out who shot and killed a teen girl. Officers responded to a shooting before midnight along Elvins Road southeast. News 4's Derek Ward reports police believe the shots were fired from a vehicle.
It happened just before 11 p.m., a shooting in the Skyline Apartments on Elvins Road in Southeast. Officers on patrol heard the gunfire and responded.
I knew it was something tragic because I heard the mothers crying and screaming up here.
Police found a teenage girl shot, and she was pronounced dead at the scene.
And that little girl did not deserve that. I know that she didn't.
The victim has been identified as 15-year-old Naomi Russell of Northwest D.C. Police say that shots were fired from a vehicle at a group of people outside an apartment building. That's when Russell was hit, and that she ran inside the building where officers found her. Police immediately released information about the suspect vehicle, a silver SUV with a black top. Surveillance cameras located near the scene may have captured that image. The vehicle was last reported on Stanton Road, heading towards Sheridan. Early on, there was no known motive, but people who live in the neighborhood fear the ramifications.
If you know that someone just died, you know there's going to be a retaliation. This little girl is dead.
There are neighborhoods where children make chalk drawings on the sidewalks. Here, children step over the chalk circles where police have marked evidence, such as shell casings.
People who are like listening to constant gun sounds and constant stuff, it causes mental illness. And so right now, I am concerned about the mental instability of all the children on Elvins Road.
Established in 1867 by the Freedmen's Bureau, Berry Farm was created to provide land and opportunity to formerly enslaved black people seeking to build new lives after the Civil War. By the mid-20th century, however, much of the neighborhood was transformed into public housing as part of the federal government's urban renewal efforts. The Berry Farm dwellings, completed in the 1940s, became home to generations of working-class families and played a central role in D.C.'s African-American history, fostering strong social ties and activism during the Civil Rights era. The projects were also home to the Junkyard Band, a go-go band, formed in the early 1980s by neighborhood kids who created music using makeshift instruments. They're best known for their hit songs Sardines and The Word. In the decades that followed, Berry Farm faced growing challenges. Economic disinvestment, limited job opportunities, and the decline of city services took a toll on the once proud community. The neighborhood became synonymous with poverty, crime, and neglect, struggling under the weight of systemic inequality. Violence and drug activity rose sharply, and public housing conditions in the Berry Farm dwellings deteriorated as maintenance and funding fell short. The buildings fell into deterioration after decades of disinvestment and neglect. The community declined throughout the late 20th century as housing conditions worsened and redevelopment plans stalled. By 2018, the last residents had been relocated, and between 2019 and 2021, the historic Berry Farm housing complex was demolished to make way for a new mixed-income community that aims to honor the legacy of the original neighborhood. Berry Farm notable gangs and hoods. Cashville, a reputable area around Morris Road Southeast. Parkchester, Berry Farm dwellings. Berry Farm Projects was once one of D.C.'s most reputable neighborhoods. Oak Park. Oak Park is informally bounded by U.S. Route 50 to the north, Stockton Boulevard to the east, the South Sacramento 99 freeway to the west, and Fruit Ridge Road to the south. Oak Park is divided into three subneighborhoods: North Oak Park, located closer to Broadway, and UC Davis Medical Center, which has experienced increased gentrification. Central Oak Park, often seen as the heart of Oak Park, also going through gentrification, and South Oak Park. According to Sacramento police officials, nearly 50% of violent crime happens within 7 square miles of the 100-square-mile city, which included Oak Park along with Del Paso Heights and Mack Road/Valley High area. Violent crime rates in Oak Park are significantly above the national average, with Central Oak Park experiencing rates 162% higher and South Oak Park an alarming 354% higher than the national average.
People are losing their lives and these tragedies are horrible.
After 3 people, one, a teenager, were shot and killed in Sacramento at 2 different scenes overnight, today another homicide in Oak Park.
And people have a right to be outraged that the violence keeps continuing.
Sacramento police say they got multiple calls about a shooting here on 6th Avenue just after 9 a.m. They confirm the man who was shot was taken to UC Davis Hospital and died there.
It's a sad statement. It's normal. It's normal shooting.
L.C. Curtis was not surprised when he rode his bike in his neighborhood and came upon this massive police scene.
Gotta watch your back, you know? It's just that way out here. I'm 69 years old. Ain't no way I hang out. No way. I want to see my daughter and my grandkids make it in this world.
Minutes before news of this latest shooting death, KCRA3 spoke with Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg about this surge in gun violence.
I know that there's more work that we have to do at the local level, but we also need more work at the federal level. How do these weapons of destruction get in the hands of people who shouldn't have them?
In the early 1900s, Oak Park was a culturally vibrant and economically thriving neighborhood, known for its strong sense of community and proximity to the California State Fairgrounds. Originally home to many white Americans of European descent, the area prospered due to a robust local business scene. However, the Great Depression, coupled with racially discriminatory practices like redlining, began to erode the neighborhood's stability. Redlining policies segregated the community, contributing to white flight and declining property values. The 1960s freeway expansion further disrupted Oak Park, physically dividing the neighborhood and accelerating its decline. By the 1980s and 1990s, the area faced significant challenges, including rising crime, drug activity, and gang violence, all of which contributed to deteriorating living conditions and a weakening sense of community. Notable residents of Oak Park include platinum-selling rapper Timothy Mozzie Patterson, born June 24, 1987, who was raised on 4th Avenue in the Oak Park neighborhood, an area long associated with gang activity. With parents battling addiction and incarceration, he was brought up by his grandmother, a former Black Panther. Mozzie joined the Oak Park Bloods in his teens, dropped out of high school, and faced multiple arrests before committing fully to music. Mozzie first began rapping around the age of 16, inspired and guided by his uncle Gennaro G.P. the Beast Patterson, who was also a local rapper. Known for his unique slang, raw, unfiltered lyrics about street life and systemic struggle, Mozzie began releasing mixtapes under the name Lil Tim in 2010. He released his first solo mixtape in 2011, Money Means Mozzie. This followed by other critically acclaimed projects like Money Making Mozzie in 2011 and The Tonight Show with Mozzie in 2013, and gained widespread attention with his mixtape Bladada in 2015.
Means it's fleshy and salsaristic, super duper big though, you know what I mean? That's what it does. Man, as soon as it hit the stores, please cop it, ASAP. Post on the grind, you was forced to be strong. Too many problems posted on my mind for a 4-minute song. The pain I hold deep inside, I use drugs to erase. Every time I look in the mirror, it's a mug on my face. And as I glance at my life, this is what it comes to. I only made it thus far through all the shit I stumped through. Feel throughout my childhood, my pops neglected my life. And not a nigga in the pen, and he expect me to write. At an early age, I realized the struggle was cold. Only big bro I had was this burner I hold. Niggas don't realize I'm literally living in stress. Shit that's heavy on my mind, got my chin in my chest. Moms and pops evaporated. I was left with pain, but now I'm a certified man. Ain't shit left to raise. My niggas always have my back, especially when I be beefing. My grandmother pitched me all the love I ever needed.
Notable gangs and hoods. Fruitridge, an area within Greater Lemon Hill popularized by late rapper True Story Briss, located immediately south of Oak Park and is considered the start of the south side of Sacramento/South area. Fruitridge Vista Norteños. FVN, a well-known barrio whose main block is 42nd Street along with Gotti Grove Townhomes. The Diamonds. This large area in southeastern Sacramento is commonly referred to by the name of its dominant gang, Barrio Diamond Sacra 14, or VDS for short. Though it's composed of multiple neighborhoods, the area's identity has become closely tied to the presence of this Norteño-affiliated set. VDS originated as the Diamond Boys, a name reportedly inspired by a now-demolished baseball park that once served as their main hangout. This park was located somewhere between Fruit Ridge Road and 21st Avenue along the 65th Expressway, and its significance remains a key part of the gang's history and identity. Mott Haven. Mott Haven is a primarily residential neighborhood in South Bronx. It is generally bounded by East 149th Street to the north, the Bruckner Expressway to the east and south, and the Harlem River to the west. Mott Haven crime rates are 327% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in Mott Haven are 777% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 11 chance of becoming a victim of crime. Mott Haven and Port Morris were the first neighborhoods to give rise to the term South Bronx. Together, they were earlier known as the North Side or North New York. In the 1940s, when the Bronx was usually divided into the East Bronx and West Bronx, a group of social workers identified a pocket of poverty on East 134th Street, east of Brown Place, and called it the South Bronx. Some notable residents of Mott Haven include platinum-selling rapper French Montana, former drug lord Guy Fisher, and NBA player Rod Strickland. The area that is now called Mott Haven was sold to the Morris family in 1670. A small part of the larger swath of land known as Morrisania, it was purchased by Jordan Lawrence Mott for his iron works in 1849. From the end of the 19th century through the 1940s, Mott Haven was a mixed German-American, north of East 145th Street, and Irish-American neighborhood, south of East 145th Street, with an Italian enclave west of Lincoln Avenue. The first Puerto Rican settlements came in the late 1940s along the length of Brook Avenue. African Americans came into the area around the time the Patterson houses were built in 1950.
Violence in New York City. A woman is dead after a drive-by shooting in the Bronx, and police say she was likely not the intended target. 2 men were also injured. CBS 2's Allie Bauman is in Mott Haven with the latest on the search for the suspect.
Police say a 39-year-old woman was shot in the head here and died at the hospital, and 2 men were both shot in their backs. Tonight they're listed as stable in the hospital. Take a look at this surveillance video. You can see as the white car drives by, someone inside shoots at a group of people on the sidewalk. Those who were not hit take off running as the car speeds down the block. First responders rushed the 3 victims to the hospital. 39-year-old Gloria Ortiz was pronounced dead. A 23-year-old man and a 32-year-old man, both shot in the back, are still being treated at the hospital. This happened just after 4 p.m. on East 137th Street near Cypress Avenue on a quiet block with mostly auto repair and rental shops. Police are still searching for the gunman and have not made any arrests. At this hour, investigators are trying to figure out the motive and if the victims were the intended targets.
Mott Haven notable gangs and hoods. P-ville Gunners. P-ville or P-ville is a set located in Patterson houses. They are a faction of the Young Gunners gang started in the Bronx. The Have/MHG. Affiliations include Young Gunners and Mother Kings. Trap ABG/Mitchells. The Mitchell houses of the South Bronx, Trap ABG aka The Mitch. Affiliations include Neighborhood Crips. Cypress Avenue. Cypress is a block primarily around Cypress Avenue and East 139th Street through 143rd Street. Affiliations include DG3s, MBE, and Trayside. Mechanicsville. Mechanicsville is a neighborhood in Zone 3 Atlanta. It sits just south of downtown Atlanta. The neighborhood is bounded by I-20 on the north, the I-75/I-85 downtown connector on the east, and the Southern Railway lines on the southwest. Mechanicsville crime rates are 375% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in Mechanicsville are 696% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 10 chance of becoming a victim of crime. Mechanicsville is a neighborhood that dates back to the late 19th century. It is named after the mechanics who worked on the railway lines. There were once many prominent merchant families here, as well as working-class blacks and middle-class whites. In 1964, the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium was built just outside of the neighborhood, while highway construction on the north and east furthered destruction of the neighborhood's physical resources. In 1968, a 1,000-unit public housing complex, the McDaniel Glen Housing Project, was constructed on the western edge of Mechanicsville to house many of the displaced lower-income families in the area. From 1960 to 2000, Mechanicsville lost 2/3 of its population, dropping from 10,530 in 1960 to 3,358 in 2000. Recently in the 2010s, Mechanicsville has undergone major revitalization due to its proximity to downtown and midtown. Middle-class families and individuals are moving back to the neighborhood. Many abandoned and damaged homes have been renovated by investors. New constructed homes are growing in the neighborhood. Economic development has improved. Property values are steadily increasing, and racial diversity is on the rise again.
Now in southwest Atlanta, where 3 people were just shot. 11 Live's Cody Alcorn live at the scene near Ralph David Abernathy in Windsor. Cody, what do we know about this?
Faith, just 2 days into the new year, we have 3 teenagers right now who have been rushed to Grady Hospital. Their conditions unknown, at least one said to be in critical condition after a shooting right here behind me on Windsor Street at Ralph David Abernathy. The homeowner of this home, you see her looking outside, says she thought what she heard was gunshots. However, she came outside and found these 3 teenagers shot in her yard, one of them making it to her front porch. They have since been taken away, and again, they are at Grady Hospital. I talked to the aunt of one of those victims. She described this as a drive-by shooting, but as you can see here on Windsor Street, homicide detectives are out here, so we are trying to learn the condition of these victims and as well as a description of this vehicle and these shooters who were here on Windsor at Ralph David Abernathy just a little while ago. And we are expecting an update from Atlanta police, so stay with us. As soon as that happens, we'll update you on the latest for these suspects and, of course, the conditions of these 3 teenagers, but not the way APD wanted to start the new year with these 3 teens just shot 2 days into it.
The gun laws. These gun laws was not made for St. Louis. We're not shooting deers and rabbits. We're around here shooting each other. And so, you know, when you got a 12-year-old that can walk down the street with an AR, with a gun, and you can't say nothing to him because it's the law. It's a problem, and it's a problem for this city.
Walnut Park East/West. Walnut Park East is the third of 3 neighborhoods that are north of outbound I-70 from West Florissant to the city of St. Louis/St. Louis County line. Nicknamed Murderville and home to street legends like Jerry Lewis Bay and rap legends like Da Whole Nine and Chingy. Walnut Park East crime rates are 205% higher than the national average. In Walnut Park East, violent crimes are 384% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 15 chance of becoming a victim of crime. Walnut Park West crime rates are 328% higher than the national average. Violent crimes in Walnut Park West are 620% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 11 chance of becoming a victim of crime. People of German descent spearheaded the early settlement in Walnut Park East, but soon were joined by others with diverse European roots. Until the mid-1960s, the community was white and basically lower middle class, with a large proportion of Roman Catholics. The neighborhoods of Walnut Park East and West were one of the last communities of the North Side to have black families move into them, as many African Americans relocated into the neighborhood during the 1970s, especially after the downtown housing projects of Pruitt-Igoe were demolished. In recent years, the Walnut Park neighborhoods have tended to share some of the same issues as the neighboring communities to the southeast. The residents of Walnut Park East and West share many of the same concerns, although conditions vary from block to block or within certain blocks. Crime, physical deterioration, education and economic opportunities, airport-related noise, trash-filled alleys, and single-family home rentals are local issues and problems that extend beyond the neighborhoods or political boundaries.
Right now, St. Louis police working to learn more about a man who died after being set on fire. Officers made the discovery while responding to reports of shots fired on Thrush Avenue near Prang in the Walnut Park East neighborhood. Around 10 last night, fire crews put out the flames. The man was pronounced dead on the scene. An autopsy is being performed. Anyone with information is asked to contact St. Louis police. You can also remain anonymous. Call Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS.
Notable gangs and hoods. 49 Bad. 4900 block of Beacon Alcott Davidson in Walnut Park East. Home to rapper Chingy. At one time, this was the most reputable area in Walnut Park and among the most notorious hoods in the city. The area was also home to one of the city's deadliest intersections, Lillian and Emerson. The 49 Bad began as 3 separate blocks before forming as one hood. It is believed that before Bloods and Crips came to St. Louis in the 80s and early 90s, the area was home to a few vice lords that originally came from the projects after they were demolished. Affiliations include 62 Brims, Harvard Park Brims, and 92 Inglewood family gangster Bloods. 5-4 Murderville, 5-4 Oriole, 5-4 Robin, and 5-4 Wren. Located in the 5400 block of Walnut Park East, aka Murderville. Affiliations include 62 East Coast Crips and 87 Kitchen Crips. Emma Mob. Lucille Avenue Crips, 6000 block of Lucille, Emma Mob, 5900 block of Emma, and Harney Mob, 5900 block of Harney, in Walnut Park West. Affiliation, Roland 60s Neighborhood Crip. Floy aka The Six, 5700 block of Floy in Walnut Park West. The Six is located in the city's 6th district and is comprised of 3 separate hoods that are allied together, Mimica, Floy, and Acme. Home to late rapper KB6. Affiliation, Roland 60s Neighborhood Crip. Blue Valley. Situated on the east side, The Blue Valley area is comprised of multiple neighborhoods including South Blue Valley, East Blue Valley, and West Blue Valley. The official boundaries of Blue Valley are 12th Street to the north, U.S. Highway 40 to the south, Van Brunt Boulevard to the west, and Interstate 435 to the east. Although South, East, and West Blue Valley are all considered dangerous, Central Blue Valley stands out with the highest rate of violent crime. Central Blue Valley faces crime rates that are 364% higher than the national average. Violent crime in the neighborhood is 1,156% higher than the national average. You face a 1 in 10 chance of becoming a victim of crime.
Some difficult news to share. A 2-month-old baby girl critically injured in a triple shooting last week has died. Kansas City, Missouri police confirmed Desiree Bowden passed away Sunday. The baby and 2 adults were found shot inside a duplex at 26th and Hardesty 1 week ago. 27-year-old Devon Bowden was killed. Police say the investigation is ongoing. They are not looking for any more suspects.
As workers flock to the rapidly industrializing Blue Valley area, anchored by major employers such as the Ford Motor Company plant and Armco, the neighborhood grew into a strong working-class enclave. But the prosperity was short-lived. When the U.S. steel industry faltered in the late 20th century and Ford shifted operations to its new Claycomo plant in 1951, jobs and economic stability began to vanish. Today, roughly 1/3 of Blue Valley's housing stock dates back to 1939 or earlier, according to census data. Like much of the East Side, the neighborhood is scarred by vacancy, with about a quarter of homes standing empty. In many parts of Blue Valley, the median sales price of a home hovers around just $6,200, a stark reflection of decades of disinvestment and decline. Vacant lots, underfunded schools, and rising crime defined the late 20th century in Blue Valley. Many families who could move left. Those who remained faced cycles of poverty, violence, and deteriorating housing. Blue Valley nearby notable gangs and hoods. Hilltop. Village Green, a large housing complex, a reputable area within the 20s. Sheffield. A reputable Mexican hood off of 12th Street. 20s. A large area on the east side in the 20s, the area has been known locally as Twampside, Hillside, and 24, 24th Street. Norton Block Gangsters. A reputable Crip set within the 20s. Independence Avenue. Independence Avenue has long been a vital corridor connecting downtown KC to the eastern neighborhoods. Historically, it was a bustling commercial hub, serving as a gateway for trade and cultural exchange. Over the decades, the avenue witnessed the rise and fall of various businesses, reflecting the city's dynamic economic landscape. In recent years, certain sections of Independence Avenue, particularly around the Independence Plaza neighborhood, have experienced elevated crime rates. In 2025, the violent crime rate in Independence Plaza was reported at 22.51 per 1,000 residents, earning it a grade of F for violent crime. Notable hoods near Independence Avenue. Parker Square. A well-known public housing complex located on 12th Street, an area that was once part of the 5 Ace Deuce, 5 Ace 2 Alliance. CTP. 500 block of the Shoto Court projects. Built in the late 1940s, part of the city's first wave of public housing after World War II. In the late 2010s, as part of broader efforts to reform public housing, the Shoto Court projects were demolished. Ginnat Manor. Built in the 1950s and one of the first housing projects to be built in KC. The complex was later redeveloped into mixed-income housing. T.B. Watkins. the Theron Watkins homes of 12th Street. Riverview Gardens. Wayne Minor. Named in honor of Wayman Wayne Minor, a black soldier who died in World War I, just hours before the signing of the armistice. Constructed in 1960, originally, Wayne Minor Court featured 5 high-rise buildings, 9 and 10 stories that contained 664 housing units. City housing officials reported that the Wayne Minor high-rise project never achieved more than 64% occupancy and had steadily deteriorated into a crime-plagued eyesore. At the time, repair costs for the complex ran about $10,000 per month, straining city resources. In the 1980s, its condition and reputation had made it largely uninhabitable. However, by 1987, the complex had deteriorated significantly, leading to its demolition. The demolition was notable for being the nation's largest housing project implosion at that time, involving the use of 2,500 explosive charges to bring down the structures.
You can get a good view around it. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of people, and quite a few people atop University.
Here comes the countdown.
Here's the countdown.
2 and 1, here it goes.
Upton. Upton is a neighborhood in the western section of Baltimore, roughly between Fremont Avenue and McCullough Street, extending from Dolphin Street to Bloom Street. Its main artery is Pennsylvania Avenue. At the turn of the 20th century, Upton was among the wealthiest African American neighborhoods in the United States. In 1884, the Pennsylvania Avenue commuter rail station was established on the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad, further connecting the area. In the early 1900s, Pennsylvania Avenue was the premier shopping and cultural hub for black Baltimoreans, inspiring comparisons to Lenox Avenue in Harlem. It featured a vibrant mix of professionals, including doctors and lawyers, along with retailers catering to middle-class and upscale clientele. The avenue was also a center for entertainment, hosting jazz clubs, dance halls, theaters, and other institutions that served the black community. Upton was home to notable figures like Cab Calloway, who grew up in the neighborhood, and U.B. Blake, who made his debut performance in a club along Pennsylvania Avenue. The Royal Theater, located at the intersection of Pennsylvania and Lafayette, became a cornerstone of the Chitlin Circuit, attracting legendary performers and audiences alike. Many legends performed at the Royal Theater, including acts such as Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole, Red Fox, James Brown, Diana Ross, and many more. Upton played a pivotal role in both local and national civil rights movements. The neighborhood hosted visits from influential leaders such as Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Marcus Garvey, who spoke at its prominent churches. Additionally, the Baltimore chapter of the NAACP was established in Upton during its development, further cementing the neighborhood's legacy as a hub of activism and progress.
Quite a lengthy list for a city that has about 15,000 vacant homes.
Right, yeah, and we are a block away from Abijoy on South Calhoun Street. And you'll notice this house right here behind me caught fire
Just on Saturday, 2 days before that fatal fire on Stricker Street, it also a vacant building, but firefighters tell us really the only difference was the floors didn't cave in on this one. In theory, vacant homes should be boarded and secure, but we have found that's not always the case, leading to other dangers that in and around vacant buildings. 15,000.
It's sad, actually.
That's how many current vacant buildings the city tracks.
You take the vakes away, you take the crime value down, basically.
The Stricker Street property had been vacant since 2010, the latest of a long line of fires at vacant buildings, but that's just the start.
Nobody knows somebody is there until they enter the house or something.
Just around the corner from City Fire Station 8 here in West Baltimore, this entire block of North Gilmore Street is scheduled for demolition. Still, many of the homes are not secure. You can actually look directly into many of these vacant buildings. These homes are really open to the elements and open to people, and in some cases, the boards have been pried right off.
You can easily just walk inside of here and just be upstairs chilling or something.
At this home, a water leak has caused icicles to form out front and on the basement bed. You can see from the exposed window. In 2020, a body was found inside a vacant property here on Argyle Avenue in West Baltimore. And city police tell me that they don't track every body found, but they do when it results in homicide investigations. And dating back 5+ years, we've had 22 homicides in or on vacant properties. On property or near, the city has long pointed to the sheer presence of vacant buildings as a cause for crime.
If you look at the map of where the murders are, the most violent crime is in the areas with most vacant.
The implementation of the National Housing Act in Baltimore around the 1960s and 1970s designated large zones of land for public housing. This resulted in the construction of Murphy Homes and McCullough Homes, with the McCullough Homes being featured later in the TV show The Wire as the Pit. While intended to address the problem of crowded homes and poor conditions throughout Upton and Druid Heights, the construction of these projects also resulted in the demolition of much of Upton's historic architecture, including the Royal Theater in 1971. Opening on New Year's Eve 1963, the George B. Murphy Homes was comprised of 15 acres of low-rise townhouses, playgrounds, and basketball courts centered on 4 14-story high-rises. The towers contained 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments with 758 units. In less than a decade, by the early 1970s, the housing project had already started to experience challenges with crime and drug dealing. By the 1990s, Murphy Homes became infamously known in Baltimore for crime and violence, gaining the name Murder Homes by some locals and media, as drug dealers fought over drug turf during the crack epidemic. In 1999, the project would be demolished after only 36 years in operation. The Upton community has been home to many legends and athletes, including Carmelo Anthony, who described life around the Murphy Homes, McCullough Homes, and the section referred to as the Bottom, in his book Where Tomorrows Aren't Promised. Founded in the early 2000s, the Upton Boxing Center has produced boxing stars such as Gervonta Tank Davis and Mia Killer B. Ellis under the guidance of trainer Calvin Ford, whose life inspired the character Dennis Cuddy Wise in the HBO series The Wire. Today, the Upton neighborhood continues to struggle. The neighborhood faces significant socioeconomic challenges, with the second highest violent crime rate, the second highest gun-related homicide rate, and the 4th highest overall juvenile arrest rate in Baltimore. Poverty is a major issue, as 58% of children in the area live in poverty, compared to 28% in Baltimore City and 10% in Maryland overall. Additionally, 53% of households have an income of less than $15,000, a stark contrast to the 20% citywide average. Educational attainment is also a concern, with 39% of adults lacking a high school diploma, compared to 23% across Baltimore City. In 2010, the neighborhood saw 696 child welfare referrals and 90 admissions to foster care, further highlighting the area's systemic challenges. The life expectancy is 62.9 years, compared to 71.8 years for Baltimore City overall and 83.1 years for Walnut Park, one of Baltimore's wealthiest neighborhoods. West Garfield Park. West Garfield Park is bordered by Kinsey Street and the railroad tracks to the north, 5th Avenue to Taylor Street to the south, Hamlin Avenue and Independence Boulevard on the east, and Kenton Avenue along with the railroad tracks on the west. The area has a population of around 17,423 residents. West Garfield Park is frequently cited as one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago, with high rates of violent crime. Some reports indicate it has the highest crime rate in the city, with incidents exceeding 11,000 per 100,000 people. Crime in West Garfield Park is dramatically higher than the national average. Overall crime rates sit at about 362% above the U.S. average, and violent crime rises to a staggering 587% higher. For residents, that risk is impossible to ignore. In West Garfield Park, there is about a 1 in 11 chance of becoming a victim of crime.
Yeah, Susanna, a 16-year-old boy in serious condition here at the emergency room where we've seen a lot of activity over the last couple of hours. I want to show you new video we've gotten into our newsroom that shows you video of that scene on the west side where this shooting happened. You'll see police tape stretched across the street there as officers are collecting evidence. We saw at least 10 evidence markers in the street and on the sidewalk. You also see trash everywhere, to-go cups and food containers. This is on Wilcox near Kilbourne, just a few miles from the hospital here. Police say the shooting happened just before 2 o'clock this morning. They were initially responding to calls of a person shot, ended up finding multiple victims there. 2 teenagers, 2 adults with gunshot wounds. There's 2 28-year-old men that were shot, one of them in serious condition after being shot in the neck and in the head. The other 28-year-old in good condition, thankfully, with a graze wound to the leg. We know one of those teens is just 15 years old. He was shot multiple times throughout his body. He's in good condition at Mount Sinai Hospital, not far from here. We know that other teen victim we mentioned, 16 years old, was shot multiple times throughout his body. At last check, again, he was here at Stroger Hospital in serious condition. From the looks of that video, we know this happened outside during what looked to be some sort of gathering with all the trash that was left behind. We know police are still investigating the circumstances around this shooting.
Ongoing conflicts, open-air drug markets, and retaliatory shootings have shaped daily life, leaving many residents caught between fear and resilience. For a community once defined by growth and optimism, the struggle today is for safety, stability, and survival. West Garfield Park, a 1 square mile neighborhood just west of one of the largest botanical conservatories in the country, has suffered nearly 1,000 shootings over the last 5 years, averaging roughly 1 every other day. Its population has steadily declined since the 1950s, from around 50,000 shrinking to about 17,000 residents today. West Garfield Park notable gangs and hoods. MNS. Centered around Jackson and Springfield, with territory stretching across Madison, Pulaski, Gladys, and Wilcox. Affiliations include Four Corner Hustlers, Traveling Vice Lords, and Unknown Vice Lords.